The Canadian federal government plans to introduce draft regulations for its national greenhouse gas offset system in the next few weeks. Host of Real Ag Radio, Shaun Haney, joins us now with the details on this subject. Shaun, appreciate you being with us today. Now, what are some of the initial details of this?
Hey, Tammy, great to be with you here this morning. So, originally announced in the 2019 federal budget, the intent is to establish a framework for generating carbon offset credits, which can then be sold to others to meet their greenhouse gas emission targets that they have corporately. So the offset system is part of the Liberal government's larger climate change strategy that also features this $170 a ton carbon tax, which has growers, to be quite honest, very, very outraged. So the minister was quite, I would say, quite quiet on some of the details yesterday at the Keystone Agricultural Producer meeting in terms of how these credits will be, how you will get the credits and how they'll be calculated. There's definitely more details to be coming out.
All right, now, so what are some concerns or questions that jump out at you initially?
Well, one of the concerns is that, what we're seeing in the U.S. right now when it comes to carbon is much more of a carrot approach. What we're seeing in Canada is quite honestly a stick approach. And the carbon tax is really the lead on that. So no matter what the government does in terms of trying to get money in the pockets of farmers for some of their carbon sequestration practices, that carbon tax just overrides any potential benefit. Growers are super, super concerned about that. We're following very, very closely as both the Trudeau government and the Biden administration develop their carbon plans in parallel at the same time. It's kind of a unique thing. Watch how they differ and how they're very, very similar. Of course, with both administrations, extremely focused on climate change, almost working right in sync with each other. So we'll see if there's any collaboration behind the scenes.
Very interesting. Now, are producers in Canada on side with the Fed's climate initiatives?
I would say overall, no. The climate and environment are very, very important to farmers. Some farmers are some of the original environmentalists, if you want to put it that way. But there's a lot of skepticism on how a lot of this is actually administered. And if farmers are going to get credit and get money for some of their agronomic practices like no-till, how much money actually ends up in their pocket versus some of the administrators trying to facilitate some of these programs, or some of the brokers out there, as an example. And like I mentioned, the carbon tax, that really in Canada really overrides and clouds all of these climate policies. It's something I think U.S. farmers should be watching very, very closely, as if the Biden administration goes that direction as well. It will definitely create, I think, a lot of heartache for farmers in the U.S.
Yeah, and definitely something to keep an eye on in both countries. That's host of Real Ag Radio, Shaun Haney. Appreciate your time this afternoon. Now, you can catch Shaun on his show, Real Ag Radio, which airs at 4:30 p.m. Eastern weekdays on Rural Radio, Channel 147 on Sirius XM. And we'll talk to him again tomorrow on Market Day Report.